In October 1999, we arrived in Lima to begin a 3-week tour of Peru. Our early morning bus ride gets us to the village of Paracas on the Pacific coast. From here, it's a 1.5 hour boat ride out to the Islas Ballestas. As we move along the coast, we come to the first of the Nazca lines that we'll see on our trip. This 200 by 60 meter image, known as the candelabro, dates back to pre-Columbian times. Its purpose and meaning have been lost in time. The Ballestas consists of 3 rocky islands. The fauna of this wildlife preserve is composed of sea lions, penguins, and a variety of seabirds. This creates a similar habitat to that found of the Galapagos Islands of Ecuador. The island once provided a very large harvest of guano. However, the bird population is slowly being displaced by sea lions. Leaving the islands, we head south 200 kilometers to the town of Nazca. Here we spend some time relaxing before wandering to the local airport to view the Nazca lines from a small plane. During the period of 300 BC to 700 AD, the Nazcan people ruled this area. Why they created their drawings on the desert surface so many years ago is not known for sure. What is known is that you can only see them from above. Some drawings are over 200 meters long. This drawing is known as the astronaut. This is the whale, the dog, a monkey, the hummingbird, a spider, a condor, the alcatraz. These are the hands. Finally, the parrot. What may be more significant are the vast number of straight lines that run for hundreds of kilometers and may be a form of astronomical calendar. A 30-kilometer bus ride south into the desert takes us out to an ancient cemetery in Chachilla. And while this is what we might expect the cemetery to look like, this is not the one we came to see. We get off the bus and begin to walk around. You start to notice bones on the ground. And bits of fabric. The bones are human. For centuries, grave robbers had been destroying the ancient burial sites for what treasures they could steal. Since this is part of the driest desert in the world, the bodies quickly mummified, and bone, skin, hair, and fabric are perfectly preserved. We leave Nazca and travel by overnight bus south to Arequipa, the second largest city in Peru. As morning arrives, it provides a better view of the driest desert in the world. A mountain river provides life-giving moisture to this valley. This is the snow-capped top of the misty volcano. We arrive at Arequipa in the morning and start to explore the town. This is the cathedral, built in the 17th century. The main attraction in town is the Monasterio de Santa Catalina, which had been an active monastery since it was founded in 1579. It was common practice for wealthy families to send their second oldest daughter to live out her life here, and was not until 1970 that any visitors were permitted on the grounds. It's the next morning, and we are setting off on a 6-hour bus trip that will take us up into the mountains to see the Canyon del Colca. The canyon is the deepest in the world at 3,400 meters, making it about twice as deep as the Grand Canyon. These small deer-like animals are vacuna. Flocks of alpaca are seen throughout Peru's agricultural areas. We have reached the highest point of our trip. This plateau is at 4,800 meters, or about 16,000 feet above sea level. The air is very thin, and since we have not had time to adapt yet, breathing is difficult. Even walking slowly can make you gasp for air. The snow on the nearby mountains is only 400 meters higher than we are. This lichen is known as yareta and is common at these altitudes. Along the way, we stop at this small village. The local church was badly damaged during an earthquake and is undergoing restoration. We arrive at the end of the road and walk towards the edge of the canyon. The great depth of the canyon, coupled with the sunny day, creates perfect flying conditions for condors. Looking out, we finally spot one rising up from below us. These magnificent creatures are the largest members of the vulture family, with a wingspan of over 3 meters and weighing as much as 12 kilograms. They are considered to be an endangered species. We note that the weather is beginning to change, and in the mountains, these changes happen fast. Our once clear sky is no longer, and soon rain starts to fall. We reached the town of Chevet in time for lunch, which for us was composed of buying bread and fruit at the local town market. One of our group bargains over the price of some oranges. Finally, we prepare to leave Cervé and head to the airport at Arequipa for our flight to Cusco. Cusco is 3,400 meters above sea level and was once the capital city of the Inca Empire. The word Cusco in the local dialect Quechan translates as the center of the universe. High above the city on the North Hill stands Sacsayhuaman. This massive stone structure is believed to have been an Inca temple. A trademark of the Inca is their quality stonework. This stone has 12 sides, yet fits so closely that paper cannot slide between the gaps. This photo shows the difference between the Inca walls on the left and the later Spanish construction on the right. The Iglesia de Santo Domingo was built in 1534. During a recent earthquake, some of the Spanish walls gave way, revealing the Inca's sun temple beneath, which had been hidden for hundreds of years. The 200-year-old Monasterio de Cusco has been converted into a 5-star hotel, the best in town. One of the major feats for the Inca engineers was to know just how wide to build the roads, so our modern cars would just exactly fit. We also noticed that Cusco has a large population of llamas roaming the streets. As night falls, the Plaza de Armas at the center of town remains the focus of activity. Well, the big day has arrived. We hopefully have adapted to the thin air, as we are about to start a 4-day trek to Machu Picchu. Last-minute shopping is a must. Rob and his small friend George. Machu Picchu is a 112-kilometer train ride from Cusco. We are being taken by bus to the 82-kilometer point and walk the rest of the way. Our path follows along the Urubamba River. We are at 2,750 meters above sea level and have just under a 50-kilometer trek ahead. The first of the many ruins on our trek is Yactapata, one of many porters moving gear along the trail. Campsite for the first night, 2,800 meters. Start of the second and what turned out to be the hardest day. It's 6:58 a.m. Toughest part was the climb up to Warmawatake Pass, known locally as Dead Woman's Pass at 4,200 meters. Exhausted hikers rest at the top before moving on. It took me just over 3 hours to do the climb. Francis and most of the group about half an hour more, with a few stragglers stretching it out to 4.5 hours. We start down the hill in a light rain towards the second night's camp. Camp, night 2 at 3,500 meters in the Pacomeo Valley floor. Morning breakfast. Back on the trail, day 3. The second major ruins on our trek is the Rumcuraque. Its circular shape is unusual for a large Inca structure and may have been a lookout station. Looking back from the Abra de Rumcuraque Pass at 4,000 meters, we start our descent. There are 1,700 stair steps to be taken on this day's descent. We reach the ruin Sayamarca at 3,600 meters. The path is very narrow here, and it's suggested to not get too close to the edge. The Incas made use of this natural cave to get their path through the rock. Day 3, lunch break. I take time to photograph some of the flora present here. Looking down at the ruins Pupu Acamarca, which means cloud level city. There were 35 steps hand cut into this one single stone. Buena, located just off from our third campsite at 2,650 meters. Having completed the major part of the trek over the last 3 days, the group relaxes over cold cerveza at this small 16-bed hotel adjacent to the largest and least appealing of the campsites of our trek. It's 5:10 a.m. and we have just finished packing in the dark. As the stars yield to the pre-dawn sky, we head off. It should take an hour to reach Sungate, but we are late leaving and so must move quickly to arrive before sunrise. We made it. The time is 5:55 a.m. and everybody awaits the morning sun striking Machu Picchu. By 6:25 a.m. we are moving again. It will take about 1.5 hours to descend to the great Inca city itself. We arrive at the edge of the city. Machu Picchu was lost to the world until 1911, saving it from looting and destruction. This ruin is described as the most spectacular archaeological site in South America. Just behind this quarry area is the section believed to be the principal temple. This was the common area, used as residence. The temple of 3 windows. Note the higher grade of stonework. This section of the city was the residences of the king's concubines. The religious areas had the signature high-grade stonework. It's interesting how the Inca architects made use of naturally placed stones as part of the structure. Surrounding the city are many agricultural areas with their terraces. It's believed this area could produce enough food to feed a city population of 300 to 600 people. There are many sacred stones throughout the city. This stone's top surface follows the outline of the mountains in the distance. This is the sacred altar in the Temple of the Condor. At the head of the Condor stone is a basin for collecting blood. These 2 pools were filled with water and used to reflect sunlight as part of a solar observatory. The Itahuatana stone, also known as the hitching post of the sun, has a gnome on the top of it to identify occurrences of the solstice. This is just off from the Temple of the Condor. Once thought to be a prison, the chamber held the mummified bodies of Inca rulers. At the top of the tomb is this window chamber, which from another angle reveals a unique altar stone. Machu Picchu is not without its fauna. Finally, we leave Machu Picchu and return to Cusco. The next morning we get aboard our all-terrain bus to visit Sacsayhuaman, just north of Cusco. Sacsayhuaman is believed to have been once a temple, and later, during the Spanish invasion, an Inca fort. There are many stones missing from this site, having been used for years as a ready source of cut stone for the construction in Cusco. Some of these stones are immense. We climb the hill to the north of the structure. This is the Inca's throne. Leaving the site, we head to the village of Pisca near the Urubamba River and its sacred valley. Near Pisca, we reach this ruin, which is one of the most spectacular in the Cusco area. This site has examples of Inca agricultural, religious, and residential construction. It's lunchtime, and we head into Pisca and its market to savor some of the local food and color. Leaving Pisca, we continue onwards down the valley to the Ulatambo ruins. High up on a facing mountain, 3 sets of structures can be seen. These structures were used for storage and religious purposes. We take a brief leave of the mountains and head to Porto Maldonado in the Amazon jungle. After a 2-hour flight, we are greeted by temperatures near 40 degrees and extreme humidity, and this is the dry season. We are heading down the river 3½ hours in one of these boats. And off we go. Along the way, we see how important the river is to local life. During the afternoon walk of the jungle, we see such things as this 4-meter wide anthill, and narrow bridges, 2 large rubber trees, and various other plant life. During the evening, we took another walk looking for nocturnal creatures. We come across a pair of female tarantulas. These are about 15 centimeters across. The next day, we do a boat tour to explore a jungle lake. A couple of brave souls dive in for a quick swim. We bait some hooks with meat and lower them into the water. It's only a minute or so until we get something, and what big teeth it has. This is a piranha. We came across a wide variety of interesting flora in the jungle. It's getting late as we watch the sun set over the river. During the evening, we take a boat out to look for caiman. We leave the lodge a few hours before sunrise. The cool breeze from the moving boat is welcome relief from the heat. We return to Cusco by air for our last night in the area before moving on to Lake Titicaca and the town of Puno. In the morning, we arrive at the train station to catch the 8 a.m. train to Puno. This trip will take an estimated 10 hours, provided there are no mechanical problems or other delays. The train will ascend from our current altitude of 3,400 meters to a peak of over 4,300, then descend to Lake Titicaca's 3,820 meter elevation. Along the way, we should see a wide variety of villages, mountains, and people. Deposits of ferro oxide give the hills a red color. We reach La Raya Pass at 4,321 meters, the highest spot on this line. From here, we have 200 kilometers of downhill travel to go. We arrive in Puno and explore the town. There is an incredible variety of potatoes, ranging from black to white, as well as a similar variety range of corn. We are heading for the docks to meet our boat, so for fun we take bicycle taxis. And the race is on. Lake Titicaca is the highest navigable lake in the world at 3,800 meters above sea level. The lake is 205 kilometers long and 90 kilometers wide. We leave harbor and head towards Tikili Island, somewhat over 3 hours out. Our captain, a native of Tikili Island, is dressed in their normal clothing. About 30 minutes out, we reach the Urals Islands. These are man-made floating islands composed of piled and woven reeds. There are about 40 of these islands, some of which date back centuries. We board one of their traditional boats for a short ride. Back on the boat again, we continue onwards to Tequila Island. Tequila Island draws closer. Docking, we are greeted by local children who quickly sell you a small handmade wrist strap for 1 sol, or about 45 cents. The island rises to a peak of 310 meters above the lake, but we only have to climb 150 meters to reach the village. The island is peaceful and quiet. Our local tour leader often uses this place as a retreat from the world. At lunch, we are shown the traditional clothing. The married men wear a colored waistband. The bachelor on the left wears a non-colored waistband, indicating his availability. Men spend their free time knitting the many colored fabrics used here. This is the hotel where we will spend the night. We hike to the highest point on the island, a kilometer or so away, to watch the sunset. The island's 11 square kilometers support a population somewhat over 1,000 people. Looking east, we see the last rays of sunlight striking the mountains in Bolivia. In the evening, the locals present their traditional music. Some of our group give it a not too successful try. It appears this young fella was moved by our musical abilities. It's 5 a.m. and the sun is rising on our last day here. Our group wanders over to the island school. It appears to be a tradition that visiting groups should take on the high school soccer team. We are at almost 4,000 meters, thankful that after 2 weeks we have adapted to the thin air. We lost, by the way. We head back to the village square. It's time to leave. The trek down the 500-odd stair steps permit us final views. We board our boat to return to Puno. Our boat heads back to the mainland. Arriving in Puno, we say goodbye to our fellow travelers, and then we fly to Lima, and then on to the long flight back to Toronto.